All right, welcome back to Sunday Nation. Kenyatta Stephens is the CEO of Black Family Development, a long-standing organization in this town that has been a legacy nonprofit in the trenches fighting for equity. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Ben.
I have watched Black Family, over the years and just what you all have become.
Yes.
An important anchor in this city,
Yes.
in Detroit, over the years. I want to talk about just where you all are right now, coming out of the pandemic. I've been using this terminology, our resurrection.
That's right.
From the pandemic. And what has that been for Black Family Development?
Well, it's been an opportunity to really help families in a way that, unfortunately, the pandemic has escalated the need for.
Right.
Truly mental health, substance abuse, just overall well-being of families and children has taken precedence.
Right.
We were able to be on the front lines in Detroit Public Schools and other charter schools, really meeting children where they were at, coming back into the schools after being at home.
Right.
Some of which were separated from learning environments for a period of time. And so our staff in the trenches were working with helping them navigate all of the emotions that they were feeling because they were at home. They were unsupported. There was a lot of fear and anxiety.
Yeah.
Kids having trouble processing, what is this pandemic? It's taken up half of my life, but I don't understand it. And how do I deal with my sadness? And so our staff have been working with families to help them navigate their own fears and losses. A lot of tragedy. Our people have walked through a lot of tragedy during this time. And so our goal and our staff's goal is to provide hope and healing through supportive counseling, resources on the ground, food, clothing, relocating people into shelters if needed, but also preventive work so that we don't have an opportunity to lose more kids to suicide.
As you speak, I'm thinking, do you feel though that with much of what the pandemic has exposed, the issues that it has made perhaps more pronounced and brought them to the top, they bubbled up, that your job has become even more difficult?
I think it's become more difficult because it's more constant. Our staff are on the ground on a regular basis. Unfortunately, when young people are navigating their own worlds in this time, gun violence is on the rise.
Yeah.
And so our staff have seen more fatal injuries in some cases in families. And so that secondary stress is real, but at the same time they are pushing forward because we're called to fulfill the mission.
Right.
So my job is to look at ways to be innovative to also care for them while they're caring for families.
And one of the features of that, even in the context of gun violence, we had the Chief of Police, James White, to open the show today, is the question of mental health.
Yes.
And that also is perhaps, is that part of your calling card?
It is. In fact, as we transition, we're now working as our 45th year of business.
Wow.
And so what's exciting for us...
So you're almost approaching a golden jubilee, 50 years, right?
50 years, almost.
Right.
And we will make that. But as we celebrate our 45th, we really thought about what should be the theme.
Yeah.
And so it's really partnering towards a healthy Detroit. Because when I think about health, most of us in our families grew up, well, mama had diabetes or sugar. We thought about health as our physical health.
Yeah.
But our agency in our 45th year is really pushing towards become what we call an integrated health agency. So what does that mean for us as a people? It means that physical health is important. So instead of me taking my third piece of sweet potato pie, we'll take the second. So maybe I'll think about going to the treadmill after my second. But it's
I drink a lot of water, by the way. I've been drinking a lot of water. So I've been on a health transformation myself, but go ahead.
Yes, but it's also our minds and our emotions, right? It's our mental health, how we think and our feelings. That's our mental health. It's also behavioral health, how we operate based upon our fears, our anxieties, our sense of peace or calm. It's also environmental health. If things around us are full of blight or tragedy, that impacts how we feel and how we respond to our environment. And so whether it's mental, physical, emotional, family, environmental, that's all health. And so we're pushing to really examine that in a way and bring partners in that help us do that work. And it's for that reason that we're proud to elevate 5 health champions in the city of Detroit and our greater area who've made their life mission to continue.
Well, let's delve into that. And I like the concept in terms of what you just laid out, being conscious of our state of mind,
That's right.
Not just our physical being.
Yes.
Let's delve into the 5 champions that you're honoring, because you have an important event coming up next week.
That's right. That's right. So on Wednesday, December 7th, we will celebrate at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History here in Detroit. And so we are proud to honor 5 individuals who've made health their focus, particularly in the city. And so the first is Denise Fair-Rezo, and most people know that Denise is the Chief Health Officer for the city of Detroit. And so she was so strong in championing a lot of the work to keep us safe during the COVID pandemic, which we're still in, but in the throes of it, she was right on the front line. We're also proud to welcome and honor Willie Bell. He is the CEO of the Family Assistance for Renaissance Men, really pushing Black and brown brothers to stand up and do all that they are entitled and intend to do to really
go see the doctor more frequently.
That's right. That's right.
I get the message.
That's
but
right.
Go ahead.
That's right. That's right. Lynette Wright, who is the director of Family and Children's Services in Wayne County. What's important is that she is pushing a lot of preventative work now. Children should not have to be removed from homes. And so that's critical for us. Let's do the work on the preventative side. We're also honoring Rabbi Dan Syme, whose life work has been to diminish the impact of suicide and death by suicide. And so we've been working with him to bring the message about suicide prevention to the Black community. And then Dr. Cynthia Tagg, you know, she's retired, but she's been a health champion for Detroit and Wayne County her entire life. And so it's through her work and her continued work today, as she sits on the board of Detroit Wayne Integrated Health, that she's pushing the message of integrated health that we just talked about.
So what does it mean for you to be able to elevate these individuals through your event? Because, you know, the work that you do is so significant.
Thank you. You know what we're really trying to do? We're trying to diminish the stigma.
A
lot of us think that if my emotions, my mind isn't working the way it is because I'm dealing with a loss, that I'm worried about telling anybody because it means I'm crazy. No, it doesn't. It means that all of us in our humanity, just like when we break our leg, need to get it positioned by someone who is an orthopedic specialist. That when we're going through the dilemma of loss, we need to speak with somebody who is a professional who helps us navigate those uncharted waters and get through them, so that then we can reach back in a Sankofa approach and bring others along the journey, because it is okay to be human and it's normal to have this range of feelings and expressions of health.
I love the terminology, the Sankofa approach, quite a demonstration of cultural balance on the show here. But I want to move the conversation to after the pandemic here, support for organizations like yours. You know, there's been a lot of talk about austerity measures, you know, the ebb and flow of the economy, if you will. But how important is it? Talk to us what it takes to run a Black family development, you know.
I am so glad you asked. You know, one of the reasons why we asked the Detroit Youth Choir to celebrate with us this coming week, and they are going to be that focused or showcased artist on Wednesday, is because we want everybody who's participating to see young people and to see them at their best. Supporting organizations like ours helps us to elevate young people who to be stars, like those stars in the Detroit Youth Choir. So once the event is over, we need the people of this community and of the broader United States to support this organization, because we focus on supporting children and young people. And sometimes when families come to us, they have been through so many tragedies and losses, or just the grief of walking through the pandemic alone. That they need resources, and some of which our grant funds don't provide. In some cases, we've had families who've lost jobs. We don't have grant funds that automatically house individuals and put them in hotels. We do that out of the proceeds. That's part of the responsibility of running an organization called Black Family Development. People shouldn't be on the street. Sometimes we need changes of clothing, or children when they graduate need a graduation gown or a graduation suit. Those resources, we believe, are critical to the development of children. Those are milestones, and they must walk through those milestones successfully. Those resources come out of the operating budget of the organization. There isn't a set-aside budget for that, and so donations help us. Members can identify with perhaps some of the pillars of service that we do, whether it's from early childhood to grandparents supporting grandchildren, juvenile justice, and really focused on boys and men of color. color. That work to elevate and change pathways for young men is critical for us. And so we encourage those who identify in those areas of color that we serve to donate. They can go directly to our website. That's www.blackfamilydevelopment.org, and they can donate. For those who are interested in participating specifically on Wednesday, we are sold out of in-person tickets, but we do invite people to still purchase a virtual ticket so that they can
So you're going to have a physical in-person event, and then you have a virtual presence.
That's right.
Quite a digital performance there.
Well, I think it's critical because we're in a digital world. Yeah. And so we recognize that whether
has it been a seamless transition for you into the digital world?
Well, I think COVID made it a real seamless transition for all of us, right?
We were all forced into,
We had to move in that direction because as essential workers, we still needed to reach our individuals. And when there was a time of the government shutdown, we had two options. We had to either employ telehealth when we could, which we did, or in some cases, we literally had to leave our facilities, our homes, and literally stand on doorsteps with individuals to make sure they had food, diapers, and clothing, and then picked up the phone and used the digital version of communication once we had delivered the things that we needed. Our staff are on the front lines. You know, this serving Detroit, serving the greater community is why we get up every morning. And so this opportunity to celebrate those 45 years of success, we're doing so and asking people to partner with us for another 45 years of success doing this great work.
Beautifully done, beautifully said, and I'm looking forward when you exactly hit that mark of being around for half a century. That will be quite a triumph.
Thank you, thank you. And I believe that when we get to that point, I'm believing that we will be able to look back on the city of Detroit and we'll be able to say, like one of our moms recently said, she said, I walked into the organization thinking that I had no idea what tomorrow held. But as I stand today as a result of receiving services, my grandchildren are strong. I have a job. My youngest grandchild is in daycare and childcare, and I know now how to navigate through a hard time where I didn't have the tools that I have now to navigate and be successful. So therefore, my grandchildren will now be able to reach back and help someone else through their own situations in the future.
You know, each one teach one. The late anti-apartheid icon, spiritual father of the anti-apartheid movement, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, the Nobel Peace Laureate, always talked about this philosophy of Ubuntu. Each one teach one, lift up somebody. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, the very Kenyatta Stephens, she's the Chief Executive Officer for Black Family Development, one of our legacy organizations here in Detroit. Been in the trenches for decades. They are approaching almost half a century, and we're looking forward to that when they get there. Thank you so much for being here. If it is Sunday, remember it is Sunday Nation with Bankole Thompson on MyTV38 WADL-Detroit. Have a great week. I will see you next week.